a bunch of bad guys known as ISM took over Hill High School. They did something terrible, killing 300 people. But guess what? One person survived, our main character, Eugen Linus. He watched in horror as everyone else got hurt. Then, the big boss of the bad guys pointed a gun right at Eugen and asked, "Do you believe in God?" Today, another freelancer held by the ISM met a tragic end, marking the 5th loss of life to the group's brutality. Suspicions swirl around certain individuals believed to be top brass within the ISM, their names now linked to this heinous act. In the midst of this, the Minister of National Defense faces backlash for taking a firm stance against negotiating with terrorists. Disturbingly, reports highlight a concerning trend. More teenagers are being drawn into the fold of terrorism via online channels. In a tense moment, 2 guards stand watch outside a building, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Their gaze locks on a mysterious figure, cloaked and armed with a gleaming blade. It's none other than Eugen Linus. Despite warnings to retreat from the restricted area, Eugen advances, his determination unwavering. The guards persist in their demands, but Eugen remains silent. As tension mounts, one guard raises his weapon, a stark threat in the night. In a swift motion, Eugen draws his blade, slicing through the air and the guards with chilling precision. Further updates reveal a disturbing tactic employed by the notorious Don't Ask Me terror group to recruit members. Shockingly, they targeted women, using assault as a means to coerce them into joining their ranks. Suspects brazenly flaunted their heinous acts in a video shared online, supplementing the evidence gathered from CCTV footage. In the footage, they subjected their victims to sexual violence. Authorities, including the police and intelligence agencies, are now racing to construct profiles of the perpetrators to bring them to justice. Eugen stormed into the building, confronting the perpetrators behind the despicable assaults on women. Without hesitation, he unsheathed his blade, swiftly dispatching each one he encountered as he ascended the floors. By the time he reached the 13th floor, a gathering of gang members awaited him. Before the leader could utter a word, Eugen swiftly struck him down. Enraged, the remaining members charged at him, but Eugen's blade danced through the air, slicing through them like paper, defying even the pouring rain outside. Eugen ascended to the final floor, where Anderson, one of the members of the ISM, awaited. Guarded by 2 formidable women, Anderson relished the opportunity to make a grand entrance on the news. With a snap of his fingers, the women were set to engage Eugen. One of them taunted him, asking if he preferred blondes or Chinese dresses, before they transformed and attacked. Eugen swung his blade, but the women agilely evaded his strikes. The blonde seized him with her thighs, sinking her teeth into his back, prompting Eugen to retaliate with a swift kunai to her flank. Declaring she wasn't his type, he swiftly dispatched her with a decisive blow. Seizing the momentary shock of the other woman, Eugen swiftly ended her as well. It was revealed that Anderson had been involved in the assaults on women all along. He confessed that appearing on TV had been a lifelong dream. Without hesitation, Eugen swung his blade, severing Anderson's face. Using the grotesque trophy, Eugen accessed the vault, not for riches, but for a book revealing the identity of the ISM's leader. Astonishingly, Anderson, despite his facial disfigurement, was still alive and quickly regenerated. Pointing his gun at Eugen's head, Anderson fired, but Eugen's mask deflected the bullet. In a swift counterattack, Eugen struck Anderson's head once more, incapacitating him. Anderson boasted that Eugen's efforts were futile against his unstoppable regeneration. Eugen, undeterred, raised his sword with a sinister grin, challenging Anderson to regenerate from his next attack. With a flurry of swift slashes, Eugen reduced Anderson to nothing but a pool of blood. Seizing Anderson's phone, Eugen dialed Noah Kruger, the elusive leader of the ISM, the same man who spared his life during the tragic incident involving 300 people. Kruger, mistaking Eugen for Anderson, answered the call. To his surprise, Eugen posed the same question he had asked him before: "Do you believe in God?" Noah found Eugen's question intriguing but critiqued his approach, suggesting that true answers come only when a gun is aimed at one's head with everyone around them dead. Eugen promised to meet him face to face to ask again. Noah welcomed the reunion, questioning Eugen's ability to reach him. He warned Eugen of the gruesome fate awaiting him, boasting his power, authority, wealth, and loyal brothers bound by rituals. Later on, Eugen, armed with his sword Hikai, embarked on his journey to confront Noah. Eugen went to see the doctor about his post-traumatic stress disorder. He's still haunted by visions of the tragedy at Hill High School a year ago, where Noah took so many lives. These nightmares just won't let go. The doctor mentioned it's been a year already, but it seems like nothing's getting better. Eugen insisted that the doctor's help means a lot to him. Before leaving in a rush, the doctor advised him to slow down and offered a cup of tea. Eugen replied that he has something important to finish today, no matter what. The doctor gently explained to Eugen that recovering from post-traumatic stress disorder would take time, and they would work together to do their best. As Eugen was about to leave, the doctor stood up and asked if he still heard voices of the deceased. She suggested chemical treatment alongside therapy if that was the case. Eugen politely declined, saying he had his own solution, the Hikai blade. Little did the doctor know, it wasn't just any solution, but a blade with a unique significance to Eugen. As Eugen left, the doctor pondered his unique solution. "Drawing," she murmured, "but he never seems to be drawing." Curiosity piqued, she delved into his files. Eugen had lost both parents and was raised by his uncle's family, who were truck drivers. A year ago, he survived the tragic Sunny Hill High School massacre, where 300 lives were lost. What puzzled the doctor most was how his condition could have improved so drastically in just 1 year. She began to reminisce about a year ago, remembering the terrible state Eugen was in. Eugen had visited her that day, asking if she was the one who had sent him a metal piece. The doctor replied that she hadn't. Eugen then explained that the ringing and voices had stopped when he touched the metal. He believed he now knew what those noises in his head were. Concerned, the doctor warned him not to let these beliefs deceive him, as any misstep could lead to a complete mental breakdown. The doctor found it increasingly difficult to understand Eugen. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to Luso's building, one of the members of the ISM organization. A sleek car pulled up, and a stunning woman emerged, Lucy, Luso's girlfriend. Lucy, visibly agitated, hurled her coffee cup at one of the guards and demanded to know Luso's whereabouts. Noticing the heightened security, she questioned the guard, who revealed that Luso was in the penthouse. The increased guards were a result of Eugen's warning to kill Luso. In the penthouse, Luso, encircled by guards, expressed his disdain for being forced into hiding like a rat over a mere threat. He fretted that if his brothers discovered his predicament, they'd mock him endlessly. Turning to his loyal guard, he inquired about any progress on uncovering Eugen's identity. The guard replied, revealing that not only their organization but several others were investigating, though it would take some time. The guard confronted Luso, informing him that they've enlisted the help of private contractors to keep a constant watch. Regardless of Eugen's special abilities, they vowed to keep him at bay. Just then, Lucy arrived. Luso questioned her presence, reminding her of the danger. Lucy shrugged off his concerns, stating she came to support him because she thought he might get bored. She then proudly displayed her attire, revealing she wore what he had bought for her earlier. Luso was rendered speechless by Lucy's appearance. Sensing the need for privacy, he asked Kane to give them a moment alone. Unbeknownst to them, one of Eugen's spirits observed from afar. Across from Luso's building, Eugen sat in meditation, his mind focused. When the spirit returned to him, Eugen grasped his blade, sensing the opportunity. With a swift motion, Eugen unleashed a long-range slash that traveled from his position to Luso's location. As Eugen sheathed his blade, the slash cut through everything in its path with precision. With Luso now gone, Kane stood in stunned silence. The slash was so precise that not even the glass of the building shattered. Eugen captured a picture of his handiwork, declaring that this wouldn't end easily. He vowed to make every member of the ISM feel the same pain as the 300 victims. With resolve, he sent a warning to the next member of the ISM. Just as Eugen's nightmares were haunting him, Noah committed a horrendous act, taking the lives of 300 people right before Eugen's eyes. Confused and shaken, Eugen confronted Noah, asking why he would do something so terrible. Noah's response was chillingly simple: why assume there's a reason? After glimpsing Eugen's new life in a different school, the focus shifted to a tense moment in the cafeteria. Chris, a fellow student, accidentally spilled food on Eugen's face, claiming it was a slip of the hand. Surprisingly, Eugen brushed it off with ease, saying it was okay. But Chris wasn't done. He reminded Eugen of his survival in another harrowing incident and demanded to know how he couldn't just move on, like he did with the Sunny Hill High School massacre. Tensions flared in the cafeteria as Chris confronted Eugen, revealing his connection to someone lost in the Sunny Hill High School massacre. Accusing Eugen of feigning forgetfulness out of fear, Chris lashed out. Eugen calmly suggested that perhaps their wrongdoings were catching up with them from beyond. Enraged, Chris attacked Eugen, drawing attention, including that of a girl named Cypher. Unbeknownst to Eugen, Cypher was associated with the enigmatic group ISM. Noah reached out to her with urgency, instructing her to tap into Eugen's thoughts. He needed to know what was going on in Eugen's head after witnessing the horrific scene of his friends being slaughtered. Little did Noah know, Eugen was the mysterious figure behind the mask, the one who had taken the lives of Anderson and Luso. Cypher reported back, stating that Eugen's mind was a blank slate, devoid of any thoughts. Despite her efforts, there was nothing but emptiness. Curious, she questioned Noah about his concern for an ordinary person like Eugen. Noah revealed that his deceased brothers, Anderson and Luso, spared Eugen's life during the massacre. In response, Cypher warned Noah that she could end him right then and there if he changed his stance. However, Noah reminded her of the condition he said earlier. He would spare him if he could provide a remarkable answer to the question, "Do you believe in God?" Noah reflected on how this question had persisted for a century, pondering how many people must have contemplated it by now. With a command from Noah, she was instructed to cease focusing on Eugen and move on to her next objective. Yet, as Eugen left the school grounds, he glanced in her direction, almost as if he sensed her affiliation with the ISM. At home, Eugen focused on his training, challenging himself with one-handed pull-ups. Leafing through the book he retrieved from Anderson's vault, he stumbled upon Cypher's details. It appeared to be a comprehensive record of every individual associated with Noah. Taking a break to hydrate, memories flooded back to him. He remembered questioning an elderly man named Isaac about the mastermind behind the Sunny Hill massacre. Isaac's response hinted at Eugen's skill but raised a chilling question. Did he possess 100 lives, knowing that anyone who learned the truth met a grim fate? Eugen confidently claimed to have around 300 lives. Isaac chuckled at his response, suggesting that if that were true, he should spill the beans. He advised Eugen that to uncover the secrets of their organization, he first needed to acquire their organizational chart. When Eugen inquired about its whereabouts, Isaac hinted that it was likely stored in the safe alongside other important documents. Isaac warned him about Anderson, the dim-witted gangster, and Lusso, the lecherous one, who guarded the safe like ferocious watchdogs. With this information in mind, Eugen set off to obtain the organization chart. Isaac promised him a reward if he returned in one piece. In the present, Isaac found himself in a desolate area populated only by the homeless. Claiming he sought healing, he lamented that the situation was only adding to his stress. Spotting a familiar cart vendor, Isaac approached and cruelly kicked the man. He flaunted a bandnote, taunting the poor vendor to beg for it while degrading him. Isaac reveled in forcing the man to humiliate himself, relishing in his power over someone he viewed as a loser. As the man began to comply, Isaac burst into laughter, claiming he was feeling healed. Mocking the man for begging over just $1, Isaac boasted about his superior genetics compared to the bottom crawlers. Suddenly, the poor man retaliated, stabbing Isaac in the eyes. With swift vengeance, he grabbed a baseball bat, rallying other homeless individuals to his cause. Together, they unleashed their fury upon Isaac, punishing him for his present cruelty and past transgressions. Eugen arrived on the scene, witnessing Isaac's plight after the homeless men had exacted their revenge. Beaten and battered, Isaac boasted of his grandeur, claiming to be the Grand Master of Freemasons and once a candidate for chairman at the Invincible University. Eugen tossed him a bottle of sake, surprising Isaac with his survival. Eugen revealed his act of eliminating Anderson and Lusso, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. Isaac urged Eugen to flee, warning that the ISM would now be hunting him down. Isaac disclosed their moniker, the Ability Users. He warned Eugen that the one responsible for his condition would pursue him relentlessly, and they weren't foes Eugen could defeat with a single sword. Isaac urged him to flee, yet Eugen posed a question: do the Ability Users perish if their bodies are severed? Isaac erupted into laughter, mocking Eugen's apparent lack of understanding. Isaac mused, I reckon they'd kick the bucket if they got sliced down the middle. He described these special folks as creatures brewed from ancient secrets, capable of mind reading, sky soaring, muscle powering, and fire breathing. Nowadays, they're dubbed superheroes. Eugen tapped his blade, stating, just point me to the next target. Camp Alpha was bustling as Cypher approached Noah with urgent news. Mr. Benson had managed to escape to the underground bunker. She emphasized the gravity of the situation, assuring Noah that their foe wouldn't be able to breach the defenses. Just half an hour earlier, Eugen had issued a chilling warning to Benson, making it clear he was next in line. Now, Noah stressed the importance of staying vigilant, reminding Cypher that they were still in the dark about Eugen's capabilities. It was crucial to proceed cautiously, adding to the gravity of the situation. Noah explained to Cypher that if Benson were to meet his end now, it wouldn't just be a blow to the ISM. Benson's unique position meant Eugen's intentions went beyond targeting those affiliated with the organization. This revelation hinted at a deeper threat. Eugen might be aiming to strike at the very heart of Apotheosis by targeting its brothers. Meanwhile, Eugen found himself amidst his preparations, drawing his blade with purpose. Yet, as he did, the haunting presence of the 300 spirits returned to plague him once more. With resolve, Eugen swung his blade at the ethereal intruders, memories flooding back from a year prior. In his weakest moments, the relentless cacophony of the spirits had tormented him beyond measure. Desperate, he had resorted to striking his own head against the wall, even as he teetered on the edge of consciousness, yet the spirits remained unyielding. In his darkest moment, Eugen contemplated the unthinkable, ready to end his torment by hanging himself. But as he reached for the chair, a spectral figure, that of a young girl, intervened. Her ethereal presence urged him not to surrender, assuring him that despite the difficulty, there was still hope. She implored him to transform his fear and despair into something more potent, rage and vengeance. Eugen was perplexed by the clarity of her form compared to the other spirits. The girl explained that vengeance and rage, though considered weak, could be harnessed to empower him. They would feed on his other emotions, growing stronger, aiding him in his struggle. With her words echoing in his mind, Eugen hesitated, reconsidering his drastic decision. Eugen, barely conscious, remained oblivious to the girl's plea, perceiving it merely as another noise in the cacophony surrounding him. Unmoved, he proceeded to push the chair beneath him, beginning to hang himself. In a twist of fate, as he dangled, a delivery man arrived, indifferent to Eugen's plight, solely focused on obtaining his signature for a private express delivery. Just as Eugen's life hung by a thread, the metal supporting the rope gave way, sending him crashing to the ground. Coughing and struggling for breath, Eugen found himself being approached by the delivery man, who seized his hand, urging him to sign for the package. The delivery man made a peculiar observation. The sender of the mysterious package was unknown, yet it hailed from Korea. With Eugen's signature secured, the delivery man bid his farewell and departed. Bewildered by the unexpected delivery from a foreign land, Eugen pondered its significance amidst the clamor of the spirits. Intriguingly, when he touched the package, the cacophony ceased, resuming once he withdrew his hand. This strange phenomenon piqued his curiosity. With cautious anticipation, Eugen opened the package, only to find a simple lump of metal inside. Despite its mundane appearance, the metal possessed a remarkable ability. It could silence the haunting voices of the spirits. Back in the present, that unassuming lump of metal had transformed into Eugen's formidable blade. Reflecting on Isaac's instructions to warn Benson before confronting one of the ISM's core members, Eugen felt a twinge of impatience. He longed to dispose of them swiftly, yet it appeared another night would be spent in their pursuit. Turning to his blade, Eugen whispered a plea, urging it to remain by his side and ensure that their enemies endured the same torment he faced each night. Word of Eugen's plot to eliminate Benson reached the ears of the brothers of Apotheoses. Presently, Henry engaged in conversation with Hector, pondering over Eugen's motives. Henry questioned whether Eugen held a vendetta against the ISM, perceiving Apotheoses as their master organization. Hector countered, revealing that within their own brotherhood, nearly half supported the ideals of the ISM. As Henry conversed with Hector, his girlfriend stirred from sleep and affectionately addressed him as Sonic, in reference to his moniker as a warrior known for his lightning-fast speed and dedication to protecting women and children from adversaries. Sonic, living up to his name, embraced his girlfriend with swift movements, all while continuing his discussion with Hector. He expressed his enjoyment in playing the hero, to which Hector cautioned him to set boundaries, despite his exceptional combat skills. Undeterred, Sonic challenged Hector, asking if he wished to live in a world where villains like Eugen roamed freely. Hector countered, revealing his opposition to Noah's leadership within the ISM as well. Discontent among some of the brothers of Apotheoses toward Noah's leadership surfaced. Henry turned to Hector for information on the next target of the ISM's terror campaign. Hector disclosed it would occur at 9, at the Dorian building. Just as they discussed, Henry's girlfriend chimed in, urging him to finish what he started. However, Henry mistakenly called her Rachel instead of Kate. Correcting him, Kate expressed her frustration at his forgetfulness, prompting Henry to respond harshly. With that, he swiftly departed in his sleek sports car toward the Dorian building, determined to confront the imminent threat. Along the way, he informed Hector that Noah wouldn't heed their warnings, so he intended to take matters into his own hands. He urged Hector to coordinate with the brothers accordingly. The scene shifted to the unfolding crisis at the Dorian building. Nancy, the news announcer, delivered the grim report. The criminals had already taken numerous lives among the hostages. They demanded direct communication with the president and the release of their imprisoned comrades. Nancy revealed that hostages were being held on various levels of the building. The situation grew more dire as she disclosed the swift and deadly response of the heavily armed criminals, resulting in the deaths of 2 officers and 5 SWAT team members. Amidst the chaos, the criminals had also taken children hostage, as the leader ominously declared the imminent deadline. He scorned the country's lack of regard for their cause. With cold determination, he aimed his gun at one of the children, labeling them as a glorious sacrifice in their struggle. Just as he shot, Sonic arrived, swooping in at the 11th hour to rescue the child from certain death. The child, bewildered by the sudden turn of events, couldn't comprehend Sonic's intervention. Sonic reassured the child that their sight would return soon, explaining his incredible speed of Mach 3. However, unbeknownst to the world, Sonic harbored a secret. He was also a member of the ISM, masquerading as a hero for his own agenda. With the hostages' lives hanging in the balance, Henry wasted no time in neutralizing the criminals threatening them. In a swift and decisive move, he dispatched each one of them. Turning his attention to the leader, Henry confronted him, only to learn that more hostages were held elsewhere in the building. Unfazed, Henry revealed that he had already taken care of them during his ascent. Observing the scene, Nancy reported that the ISM incident at the Dorian building had been resolved in a dramatic fashion. She noted the remarkable intervention of Sonic, a special ability user who subdued the terrorists, usurping the role typically reserved for the government. As Noah and his companions observed the unfolding events, it became apparent that each of them harbored their own ambitions. They discussed the significant impact their organization's actions had on the banking market. Amidst the banter, they began brainstorming ideas for the future of the ISM. However, Noah intervened, urging them to focus on the imminent threat posed by Eugen, the killer targeting them. Despite his warnings, laughter ensued at Benson's expense for hiding from what seemed like a mere threat. Noah cautioned against naivety and emphasized the importance of keeping their ability users close. Hector shifted the conversation, voicing his recent discontent and questioning Noah's original motivation for creating the ISM. Noah refocused their attention on the tense standoff involving Henry. With only the criminal leader remaining, the situation grew more perilous as he threatened to detonate a bomb. The criminal revealed a horrifying detail. The jacket worn by one of the children was rigged with explosives. A wireless receiver, containing approximately 10 kilograms of C4, was embedded within the jacket. Even more alarming, the switch to trigger the bomb was located in the criminal's own fangs, ready to be activated with a single bite. With a fierce expression, Henry dared the criminal to detonate the bomb, threatening to force-feed him every explosive before it went off. Then he rose to his feet, confronting the criminal with a probing question about his faith in God. As tension mounted, Nancy alerted everyone to the approach of an individual carrying a blade, none other than Eugen. Noah's focus shifted instantly to Eugen's arrival. Eugen posed his own question, directed at Benson, asking about his beliefs in God. The night before, Eugen was deep in slumber, yet tormented by nightmares. In one chilling vision, he found himself in the school infirmary witnessing everyone's demise. Initially brushing it off as mere night terror, Eugen soon realized it felt all too real. Before him stood Noah, who seemed to grasp his thoughts. Urgently, Noah urged Eugen to flee, insisting that even in dreams, survival depended on swift action. With a heart racing, Eugen heeded Noah's advice, dashing away in hope of escaping the impending doom. Waking from the nightmare, Eugen trembled with fear. Swiftly, he reached for his phone, playing the comforting whispers of ASMR. Gripping his sword tightly, he reminded himself to stay steady, to let go of the past's grip on him. As the soothing melody filled his ears, the lyrics echoed reassurance, "You're the best, you know I love you. I'll cheer you up, no matter what." It felt as though the singer understood him intimately. Drifting into sleep, her voice whispered, "You're strong, Eugen." The next morning, Eugen tuned into the news, anticipation prickling in his veins, waiting for the ism's next move. His ears perked up as the reporter announced the terrorist group's takeover of the Droyan building. Memories of Isaac's warnings flooded Eugen's mind. Isaac had urged him to discard the organization chart from Undersun and to alert Benson. According to Isaac, many ISM members operated without fixed bases, constantly on the move. Isaac's voice echoed in Eugen's thoughts, speculating on the recent events and predicting another terrorist attack on the main street within a week. He mentioned the likelihood of an ability user being involved. Bewildered, Eugen questioned how Isaac could make such predictions. Isaac corrected him, stating it wasn't an assumption but his ability to see the future itself. He elaborated on a principle of motion existing within the universe, beyond the comprehension of most, including Eugen. This principle, he explained, was a key to truths that transcended space and time, discovered by those seeking understanding. Isaac went on to describe the vastness of the cosmos, the movements of stars, the histories of ancient civilizations, and even the minutiae of everyday life, like the flight of a fly atop a trash can. Isaac asserted that everything in the world could be proven and predicted through mathematics. He cited physics theories like relativity, quantum mechanics, and statistics as tools for understanding. Unlike those who seek God through prayer, Isaac processed variables and numbers to foresee the future. This, he declared to Eugen, is the true calling of God, you idiot. Isaac dismissed Eugen's attempts to comprehend, insisting he simply follow instructions. To Isaac, terrorists and ability users were all enemies. Going against those who control the world meant opposing the world itself. Back in the present, Henry concluded that Eugen bore responsibility for the ism's current predicament. Eugen questioned if that was his final word. Henry retorted that only those who had transcended, like the brothers of Apotheosis, could pose such questions. An ordinary human like Eugen, he emphasized, shouldn't even utter such sentences. Eugen unsheathed the tip of his blade, but before he could draw it fully, Henry darted at lightning speed, appearing behind him. Impressed, Eugen acknowledged Henry's agility. With a wicked smile, he confessed his surprise that Henry could still move without realizing he'd been cut. Although Eugen had only revealed the tip of his blade, the slash had already been delivered. Henry, moving at Mach speed, hadn't felt it initially, but soon after, the truth of the strike became painfully clear. Henry, sprawled on the ground, couldn't fathom how Eugen managed to land a blow despite his lightning-fast movements. As Eugen advanced toward the trembling terrorist, Henry's wounds began to slowly regenerate. Yet, when Eugen glanced at the frightened children nearby, their fear stung him. In a rage, as soon as Henry's wound healed, he lunged at Eugen with blinding speed. Reacting swiftly, Eugen countered with 2 slashes, one aimed at the terrorist and the other at Henry. In that moment, Eugen struck down Henry and dispatched the terrorist, ending the threat. Henry realized it was the reverberating echo from Eugen's sword that had struck him, not Eugen himself. With Sonic defeated, Nancy accused Eugen of being in cahoots with the terrorist. Witnessing this, Noah stood in stunned silence. The other leaders warned Noah that if he didn't intervene, Henry would truly perish. They also questioned Eugen's motives, noting his declaration that Benson was his next target, yet he had gone after Henry instead. Noah swiftly contacted Cypher, who assured him she was en route to the scene. She mentioned enlisting the help of other ability users, Kyle, Zhou, Kin, and Ramo. Noah instructed them to locate Eugen and bring him to him at any cost, as he needed to hear something from him directly. Later that night, as Eugen was labeled a terrorist, the police mounted a search, setting up blockades to apprehend him. Nearby, the ability user Kale observed the scene. Despite Eugen's attempts to evade capture with the guidance of one of his spirits, the SWAT team closed in. Unaccustomed to subduing people without lethal force, Eugen resolved to minimize casualties. However, Kale intervened, questioning why the SWAT team seemed ineffective. In response, a member of the team attempted to push Kale aside, citing the ongoing operation. With lightning reflexes, Kale swiftly drew a gun and fired at all the SWAT team members, rendering them incapacitated. Reloading with precision, he continued to eliminate them one by one. Acting quickly once more, he aimed at Eugen, who deftly deflected the bullets with his blade while launching a slash toward Kale. Managing to evade the attack, Yujin maintained his composure, ready to counter any further assaults from Kale. Kale expressed surprise that Yujin managed to deflect his high-speed, light-caliber rounds, noting that if he had employed the Mozambique drill, Yujin might not have fared as well. Aware of Kale's intentions, Yujin struggled with timing, anticipating the shot as he moved to strike. Kale pointed out Yujin's inability to adapt to every situation, suggesting his technique varied based on target distance, initially appearing magical. He dismissed Yujin as an amateur. However, Kale wasn't the lone ability user present. Zhou materialized behind Yujin, declaring it was time to cease playing games. Yujin is now fighting against two ability users simultaneously. Zhou observed Yujin's muscle movements and could tell exactly what Yujin was planning. Zhou noted that Yujin was cautious of the gunner. He stated that as soon as he gets within the range of Yujin's sword, Yujin is going to unleash a high-speed range slash. Zhou, wielding brass knuckles, smashed the wall beside him and declared that Yujin was targeting both of them. Kale fired at Yujin, who deflected the bullets. Meanwhile, Zhou hurled the rubble from the destroyed wall at Yujin, but Yujin slashed through them effortlessly. Seizing the opportunity, Zhou closed in and attacked. At the last moment, Yujin blocked the attack with his sword, though Zhou's force pushed him back. Without giving Yujin a chance to recover, Kale fired again. As Yujin dodged the shots, Zhou landed a punch directly on Yujin's face. As Zhou kept punching him, Yujin used his sword as a shield. In a swift move, Yujin dashed back, gaining a brief moment to ready his sword. However, Zhou quickly closed the gap and punched Yujin again. While airborne, Yujin threw shurikens at Zhou, who blocked them with his hands. When Yujin landed, Kale started shooting, and Yujin rolled to the side to dodge the bullets. He then stabbed Zhou's foot while evading another punch. At that moment, Kale hesitated to shoot since Zhou was too close to Yujin. Zhou countered by punching Yujin's jaw, pushing him away. Despite facing two ability users, Yujin was holding his ground. Kale warned Zhou to move immediately, but Zhou ignored him, insisting that he would kill Yujin with his own hands. However, it was too late. Zhou was already within Yujin's range. With a high-speed slash, Yujin managed to cut Zhou and even injure Kale. The slash was so fast that Zhou couldn't react in time. After dealing with Zhou, Kale managed to flee but was also injured by Yujin's slash. Yujin, though victorious, had sustained injuries during the fight. He was certain he'd encounter Kale again soon. On his way home, Yujin was being watched from a distance by two other ability users, Ramo and Kim. Kim asked Ramo about the situation, to which Ramo replied that Zhou was dead and Kale had escaped. Though he avoided a fatal injury, he wouldn't be able to use guns for a while. Kim prayed for them and readied his bow, preparing to hunt Yujin. Kim's ability is his deadly aim, while Ramo's skill is sensing and identifying others' abilities. Badly injured, Yujin was moving towards his home when Kim shot a high-speed arrow at him. The arrow was powerful enough to destroy the building's structure, but Yujin dodged it just in time. From the arrow's direction, Yujin identified Kim and Ramo's location. He started running for cover, but Ramo sensed his movements and informed Kim. Following Ramo's instructions, Kim prepared a 5-pound arrowhead, stating he didn't have the strength to fire 20 of them, so he wanted to end this quickly. Despite Yujin taking cover, the powerful arrow could penetrate walls with high destructive force. Kim continued shooting one arrow after another at Yujin. Yujin kept running forward, dodging all the arrows. Ramo informed Kim that he had missed 7 shots so far, but then she noticed that Yujin was only running away on instinct. Kim then used a different kind of arrow, designed to track its target no matter where they went. The arrow sped toward Yujin, who managed to dodge the first one. However, Kim quickly followed up with another arrow, which hit Yujin's right leg. Ramo reported a direct hit, noting that Yujin was flung about 20 steps away, but she wasn't sure if he was still alive. Kim disagreed, saying he had missed. If the arrow had hit properly, Yujin would have lost his leg. He pointed out that at the last moment before impact, Yujin had lifted his leg so that the arrow's kinetic energy would carry him away, reducing the damage to his body as much as possible. Yujin got up, prepared for Kim's next move. Kim started to doubt that Yujin wasn't dodging by himself, there must be something aiding him. To test this theory, Kim shot 2 arrows, one faster than the other. Despite the challenge, Yujin timed it perfectly and cut both arrows. Kim and Ramo were shocked by this display. Now Kim was certain that someone was helping Yujin. He informed Ramo that Yujin must have some sort of detector with him, which was predicting where the arrows would hit. He ordered Ramo to hurry and investigate. Ramo focused, using her ability to perceive various energies. She saw a vengeful ghost hovering about 5 meters above Yujin's head. Kim smiled, confident he could eliminate it. He knew that if Yujin was receiving help from a vengeful ghost, it meant a strong bond tied them together. Kim shot an arrow with a red tip towards the ghost. Before Yujin could react, the arrow struck the spirit, causing it to disappear. Yujin became visibly angry upon witnessing this. Ramo informed Kim that Yujin's spirit had been destroyed, but she quickly noticed something was off. Just in time, she pushed Kim aside, protecting him from a long-range slash by Yujin. Without Ramo's intervention, Kim would have been killed. Using her ability, Ramo stated that Yujin had pinpointed their location due to the sound wave from the arrow. Observing Yujin's spirit now, it appeared different, angry and overwhelming. Kim pointed out that against a target like Yujin, his arrows were traveling too slowly because he was firing at a high angle. Instead of inflicting fatal wounds, the slow arrows were giving Yujin the chance to counter them. Kim decided to change his plan and end the duel with his undodgeable arrow. As Yujin started dashing towards them, aiming to bring them within his range, Kim recalled an event from 30 years ago in Darkhan, where he stepped into the Sanzu River. He asked Ramo if she was from Lhasa, mentioning that he had visited there too. Kim remembered encountering someone like Yujin on that fateful day 3 decades ago. He stated that he had already died once that day, so he considered the rest of his life a bonus. Grabbing 3 arrows simultaneously, he prepared for his final move just as Yujin reached the range required to attack them. The moment Kim shot his arrows, Yujin countered with a high-speed slash. Although Kim dodged the slash, it cut the bow he was using. However, the 3 arrows still reached Yujin. He managed to deflect one with his slash, but the second arrow stabbed his arm. Regaining his balance, Yujin prepared to counter with another slash. Yet, the third arrow struck his vital point, ending the fight. Even though the battle was over, Kim mourned the loss of his sacred horn bow, which had been passed down for 3 generations. He suggested they return to avoid attracting the attention of the higher-ups. However, Ramo couldn't understand how the fight ended this way. She emphasized that all Kim did was shoot 3 arrows very quickly. All of the arrows definitely went straight, and this time there was no one to tell Yujin where they were coming from. Considering Yujin's skills, he should have been able to block them. She questioned why Yujin wasn't able to block the last shot and was left defenseless. Kim explained that to Yujin, the arrows he fired probably looked like one. However, the second arrow was called Aegisel, and he shot it towards the blind side of the first arrow. Kim continued, Aegisel is short and fast. It catches up to the speed of the first arrow, and the moment Yujin strikes away the first arrow, Aegisel catches up and pierces the enemy. He went on to say that in his country, Korea, his ancestors were praised for their unique archery skills. It's one of the long-lost secrets that disappeared with time, but it seems apotheoses even had their secrets. Kim continued, what's strange is that Yujin noticed the second arrow and used his body to block it. If it had been the bigger one, his arm would have been blown off, but it seems Yujin was lucky. Then he revealed the secret behind why the third shot hit Yujin's vital point. The new technology we received from the Brothers of Apotheoses included this arrow. It's made with metamaterial, which turns transparent depending on the air friction it encounters. This means everyone can see it when it's shot, but once it's flying, it becomes invisible. In other words, it's an invisible arrow. Kim admitted that if it weren't for this arrow, he would have been killed by Yujin's second attack. Ramo pointed out that Kim, always precise, strangely didn't notice that his own arrow had missed its mark. It seemed the third arrow hadn't hit Yujin's vital point, and he was still alive. Yujin stood up, pulled the arrow out of his body, and this time, he was even angrier. Ramo noticed that Yujin wasn't in good shape but was still ready to fight. Kim suggested they leave before getting hurt. However, Kim couldn't understand why his shot missed Yujin's vital point since he had already swung his sword, making it impossible for Yujin to counterattack. He wondered how Yujin dodged the strike. Ramo, on the other hand, understood perfectly. She explained that the arrow missed because of the resonance phenomenon. When Yujin drew his sword, it resonated with unique vibrations, which changed the arrow's angle. Yujin couldn't block it, but the altered path of the arrow saved his life. Ramo added that this was far beyond human capability, especially for someone who was scared. She stressed that Yujin's special ability wasn't swordsmanship, it was the sword itself. Before departing, Ramo commented that she never thought she would encounter the Hichai again. The next morning, Isaac read the news about Yujin, who had grievously wounded Sonic and was now considered one of the leaders of Ism. Isaac thought it would be a miracle if Yujin was still alive. Following this, Isaac went to Yujin's place and found him badly injured and unconscious. Isaac grabbed the painkillers and asked where Yujin had gotten them. It looked like Yujin had tried to treat his wounds himself but passed out in the middle of it. Isaac then said, take care of your body, and if by chance you wake up, don't play around dangerously anymore. Run away just like this old man told you. Isaac then closed the door. However, as he was about to depart, the regret of leaving an injured high schooler became unbearable. The scene shifted to the medical center, where Sonic was being treated. The doctor informed Noah that Sonic managed to stay alive thanks to his regeneration ability, but his condition was still unstable. Noah instructed the doctor to use the 3 elixirs left in his personal collection to heal Sonic. The doctor hesitated, pointing out that the elixirs were precious research materials that couldn't be replicated with their current technology. Noah dismissed his concerns and contacted Cypher to ask about the search for Yujin. Cypher replied that it would take longer. Kim mentioned that he knew Yujin had avoided his vital spot, but wondered how he managed to escape with such severe injuries. Ramo responded that someone else was helping Yujin besides the spirits he possessed. She added that the fact that all evidence within 100 meters had been completely cleaned up proved it. Cypher informed Kim and Ramo that Noah had ordered them to continue the search for Yujin, giving them a 1-week deadline. She added that if they failed to find Yujin within that time, Noah would personally punish those who failed. Meanwhile, Isaac managed to treat Yujin's wounds. He noted that even in his unconscious state, Yujin wouldn't let go of his sword. As Isaac picked up Yujin's phone to see what he was listening to before passing out, Yujin suddenly awoke and pointed his sword at Isaac. Yujin asked how Isaac had found him. Isaac replied, the same way you found out about me. He then revealed that he, too, was a survivor of the question, "Do you believe in God?" Eugen stated that he sent a warning to Benson just as Isaac had instructed, but only found Sonic there. Isaac replied, "So what? You wanted to fight a core member. You think you can follow through with warnings every time like Lupin, so I changed it a bit." Realizing that Isaac had used him, Eugen angrily cut Isaac's scarf and warned him that his neck would be next if he tried to fool him again. With that, Eugen went back to sleep. Isaac noticed that despite everything, Eugen still hadn't let go of his sword. He tried to forcefully take the sword, but Eugen drew his blade, ready to strike. Frightened, Isaac backed off and departed. Eugen continued to listen to the song playing in his ear, a whispering ASMR track. The girl singing the song manifested as a spirit and hugged Eugen while singing to him. The scene shifted to Stern, flying in his advanced suit, heading towards Noah. It seemed Noah was gathering various ability users to search for Eugen. Upon arriving, Stern was greeted by Cypher, who remarked that she was as cute as ever. In the conference room, Ramo sat alone, waiting for Noah. Multiple ability users passed by, making Ramo close her eyes, feeling nervous and overwhelmed by their power. Noah arrived, apologizing for being late, explaining that he had to entertain 5 old cowards. Ramo informed Noah that Eugen's ability was the Hichai, a monster from the Oceanic region. She recounted the fight, stating that at first, the Hichai was like a cowering cat, but when its allied spirit died, its aura changed shape as if possessed by another being. Noah pointed out that they shouldn't take Eugen lightly and asked if this was all the information she had on him. Ramo confirmed it. It was then revealed that Ramo was also a high schooler at the same school as Eugen, Brooklyn Regional High School. Noah called Kim, as a week had passed and Kim and Ramo couldn't identify Eugen. Kim tried to make excuses, saying they didn't have enough information on Eugen's abilities and that his bow was destroyed, making it impossible to capture him. Noah interrupted, saying he wasn't interested in excuses. He emphasized that in his position, they needed to show the public they were protecting them, which was why he had to call on his brothers. Noah then put his hand on Kim's shoulder and used his ability, causing Kim to fall to the ground in excruciating pain. Noah humiliated Kim further, saying that Koreans believed failing to get a one-shot kill was shameful and mocking Kim for being unable to catch a mere brat. The punishment for Kim was his hand. He would never be able to hold a bow again. With that, Noah headed to his next meeting. Cypher informed him he had a lunch appointment with Chairman Furmans. As he walked, Noah contemplated how to punish Ramo, perhaps by cutting her allowance or confiscating her phone. He decided to leave the matter to Cypher. Meanwhile, back at the high school, Eugen continued to receive the same harsh treatment from Chris. As everyone watched, Ramo stepped in, offering Eugen a handkerchief to help him. However, Eugen coldly replied, "No, it's okay." Ramo noticed that while the shape and style of his aura matched, it didn't react to contact with her. Cypher contacted Ramo, informing her that the 1-week extension deadline was approaching. She mentioned that Kim had already been punished by Noah and noted that Noah had always been lenient with Ramo. Cypher suggested that Ramo punish herself in whatever way she deemed appropriate. Nearby students mocked Eugen, but he ignored them. Ramo stepped up to defend him from the bullying, criticizing the bullies' tattoos and calling them fake gangsters. This angered a girl in the group, who pushed Ramo to the ground. She grabbed Ramo by the head and slammed her onto a table, then threatened her with a knife. The girl's friends mocked Ramo as well, but Chris intervened, warning them to stop or he would call the guards. Ramo noticed that Eugen's aura reacted when Chris stepped in. When Chris intervened, the tension between Manhattan and Brooklyn also escalated. The group surrounded Chris, questioning his sudden silence and challenging his bravery. Just as the situation heated up, a guard entered and ordered them to stop and disperse. With the commotion settled, Ramo became certain that Eugen was the same person she and Kim had fought before. The interaction was brief, but Ramo sensed it, especially since Chris was related to a victim of the Sunny Hill incident. The scene shifted back to Henry, who had fully recovered thanks to the elixir. Hector warned him not to celebrate too soon, explaining that Noah had now settled his debt with them, pressuring them not to oppose him within ISM matters. Henry and Hector discussed Noah's future plans. Terrorist organizations were evolving rapidly, receiving support from Noah that could rival a small country's firepower. Hector speculated that Noah might be planning to provoke a war. Henry suggested that, knowing Noah's ambitions, it might not just be a war but a catastrophic event that could alter history itself. Noah's plan was to bury everything and start anew. Henry noticed someone nearby eavesdropping on them. Hector swiftly attacked with his axe, targeting Shinobu, an ability user who could hide himself. Hector was eager for a fight, but Henry intervened, reminding them not to fight in front of a patient. Henry addressed Shinobu directly, questioning if he had come to eavesdrop and asserting that they hadn't said anything they shouldn't have. Henry mentioned they had criticized Noah for a long time and told Shinobu to stop there. Shinobu countered, suggesting that if Noah declared war, it would concern humans and not just ability users. Henry disagreed, expressing their desire to peacefully enjoy the garden they had worked hard on, without starting over. Shinobu brought up Eugen as a pest in their garden, someone hunting them down. Hector snapped back, calling Shinobu a tactless fool for meddling. Henry calmed Hector, recognizing that any help could be beneficial. Henry then asked Shinobu for his assistance in keeping an eye out for Eugen and bringing him to them if possible. Back with Zheng and his group, they spotted Eugen passing by, though they were actually looking for Chris, not Eugen. However, Luhan, feeling bored, decided he wanted to play with Eugen instead. Luhan approached Eugen and tried to bring him over to Zheng. Zheng, however, made it clear he wanted Chris and not Eugen. He instructed Luhan to send Eugen away. Luhan protested, asking if that was how Zheng would treat a schoolmate. Zheng replied coldly that Eugen wasn't a friend, so Luhan should just send him away. Watching Zheng flirt with his girlfriend, Eugen pointed out that they were from the same neighborhood and Zheng shouldn't behave like that at school. In response, Zheng angrily threw a glass bottle at Eugen, warning him never to mention their shared background again. Because of Eugen's involvement in the incident, police had stationed themselves at their new school out of fear of further trouble. Luhan, now knowing Eugen was the sole survivor of the Sunny Hill incident, grew even more furious. He demanded money from Eugen, claiming he had received compensation as the only survivor. Luhan knocked Eugen to the ground and signaled his friends to surround him. Luhan was frustrated that his friends had to relocate to another state due to police scrutiny following the incident. He brandished a knife, declaring that he only wanted to distribute the unfairly obtained money to help society. In the past, at Tibet Lhasa, Rama was raised by monks after sustaining a brain injury that left her unconscious. The monks were concerned for her well-being and discovered she was a tulku, believed to be a reincarnated person. However, Rama could see the monk spirits as malevolent serpents. Back in the present, Luhan threatened Eugen, demanding money from him. Zheng, disinterested, started to leave. When Luhan asked where he was going, Zheng replied that he didn't care about Eugen and warned them to watch out for trouble from school that wasn't far away. Eugen grabbed his sword and began walking away, ignoring Luhan and his friends. When one of them attempted to grab Eugen, he swiftly defended himself by putting the person to the ground. The others then attacked, but Eugen managed to throw one of them who came from behind. Another swung a baseball bat at Eugen, but he skillfully blocked the attack with a martial arts move. Eugen disarmed the assailant and subdued him, putting him on the ground as well. Luhan, witnessing Eugen's skill, pointed to his watching tattoo, taunting him about rumors of their actions against the Viet Ching. He suggested Eugen share the money rather than give it all. Eugen warned them to leave Chris alone, promising not to hurt them if they complied. Ignoring his warning, one of them struck Eugen with a baseball bat, prompting the others to join in a coordinated attack. Despite their efforts, Eugen managed to dodge their assaults, but they persisted in their aggression. Eugen retaliated, delivering swift counterattacks that incapacitated each of them. However, Luhan managed to sneak behind Eugen and stabbed him in the back, though not deeply. Eugen swiftly countered, creating distance between them. Meanwhile, Rama witnessed the entire scene unfold. Returning to the past with Ramo, Noah arrived at the estate where Rama was being cared for. The monk inquired about Choki Nema, the 11th reincarnation of the Panchen Lama, to which Noah cryptically replied that he could confirm Choki Nema was alive, but nothing more. It became evident that Noah was gathering reincarnated individuals, who were also ability users, for his ism organization. The monk explained their dire situation with the government and pleaded for Noah's assistance. Noah agreed to help, and the monk revealed that self-immolation among their people was on the rise, particularly in the Tao region, with over 100 cases reported. He expressed despair over the situation, indicating that people were resorting to extreme measures due to their loss of hope. Noah then mentioned that he had met with their president the previous week and found their stance to be inflexible, akin to an iron wall that the monk could not breach through legitimate means. Noah explained that the issue surpassed mere willpower. Diplomacy always rested upon a foundation of physical force. The power imbalance between them and the government was so great that manpower alone couldn't challenge it. In light of this, Noah agreed to assist the monk's estate. In return, he requested that they provide him with Ramo, a unique ability user, as a gift. In front of the monk and Noah, they heard a scream. When the monk opened the door to investigate, his servants explained that while they were cleaning, Ramo suddenly began shaking and screaming. She accused one of the monks of being an evil spirit and started throwing things at him. The monk instructed his servants to leave momentarily. Noah then entered to assess the situation with Ramo. The monk tried to reassure Ramo, introducing her to Noah as a guest from a distant land. However, Ramo continued to see the monk as an evil spirit and reacted defensively. Noah remarked that the Dalai Lama hadn't mentioned Ramo was a girl. He mused that she might be the answer to his long-standing question but expressed uncertainty about trusting the Dalai Lama's words. Noah reflected on the irony that such a young girl could hold such weight in their unstable balance. When Ramo saw Noah, she did not perceive him as an evil spirit but rather as others normally would. Back in the present, Eugen was seething with anger over Luhan's actions. When Eugen moved to confront him, Luhan suddenly suggested they shake hands and part ways. However, his sly smile betrayed his true intentions. Eugen turned his back on Luhan, who then attempted to stab him. Eugen reacted swiftly, knocking Luhan to the ground. The others watched in shock, unable to intervene. As Eugen made his way home, Ramo approached him and asked if he was satisfied with how things had turned out. She cautioned him that he should have been more careful, given all the effort he had put into hiding himself from scrutiny. Eugen responded, "I got caught by you anyway." Ramo assured him that the apotheoses still didn't know his identity because she hadn't revealed it to them yet. Now that Ramo had exposed Eugen's cover, he returned home. Inside his room, he found Isaac sleeping there. Eugen promptly threw Isaac out onto the street, warning him, "I'll come to you if I need information. Don't come here again." Feeling the need to leave his current location due to Ramo's revelation, Eugen discussed her with Isaac. To Eugen's surprise, Isaac revealed that Ramo was not affiliated with the Apotheoses. Isaac added that if she had been born male, she would have been the leader of Tibet, a figure Noah would value enough to strain relations with China. With a smile, Isaac emphasized that Ramo was also the biggest variable in his prediction algorithm. Isaac began explaining Ramo's situation, mentioning she underwent a surgery called trepanation. He described it as an ancient surgical practice where a hole is drilled into the skull. While it may seem shamanistic, it's actually one of the oldest known surgical procedures found in Asia, Africa, and America. Isaac noted that it was believed to be an ancient tradition used to treat diseases and enhance senses. Isaac further explained that in Tibet, lamas were known to combine trepanation with special herbs to stimulate the brain. When successful, the individual was said to gain a third eye, enabling them to perceive things beyond normal sight. However, according to Isaac's data, they specifically chose certain individuals for the surgery, elevating them to officers. These individuals could see the auras of others, enabling them to discern truth from lies. Noah took considerable risks to acquire Ramo, as Isaac's information indicated she was especially tailored as spur. Eugen questioned Isaac about Ramo not being part of the Apotheoses. Isaac clarified that the individuals Eugen encountered after his fight with Sonic were merely pawns of the ISM. These individuals were tasked with managing unpredictable issues like Eugen himself. Isaac explained they were mostly recruited from outside experts, intended to maintain the secrecy of the Apotheoses. Despite their skills and accomplishments, they had been reduced to mere guard dogs, possibly due to coercion or other pressures. However, Ramo is different. Noah seems to have a special concern for her, which explains her treatment. Isaac continued, "My social prediction system was what led to our meeting." Eugen asked Isaac if he could trust Ramo not to reveal his identity. Isaac replied, "Even if you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. But there's probably a catch, since nothing is free in this world." The scene shifted to Benson, who was hiding in an underground bunker at Camp Alpha. While playing with the girls, he received a message from Eugen stating he was the next target. Cypher promptly informed Noah of the situation, emphasizing that they had taken defensive measures but needed to show results sooner than expected. That night, Eugen was training when Isaac informed him that he had used Eugen's identity to send warning messages to them, which likely arrived an hour ago. Isaac clarified, "But this is just a diversion, the real target will be different." Eugen angrily struck Isaac's hand, demanding to know when he gave permission to use his identity. Isaac calmly responded, "There's no need for violence. The next target is the coordinator of the Sunny Hill incident. He orchestrated everything behind the scenes, including choosing Sunny Hill for the party." Isaac elaborated, explaining that during the time when the terrorists of the ISM controlled the roads and the school, there were no demands or signs, making everything undocumented. He asked Eugen if he remembered all their faces. Among Noah and his men was Dick Johnson, also known as Bloodthirsty Dick, a man who used his real estate business to exploit the working class. Eugen remembered Noah asking his friends one by one if they believed in God, and killing them. Dick Johnson had been there, smiling alongside Noah. Remembering this, Eugen was consumed by fury. Eugen waited patiently at the highway for Dick Johnson to appear, preparing to attack him by surprise. As he waited, Eugen reflected on his conversation with Isaac about Johnson's motives. Isaac had explained why Johnson chose Sunny Hill over other places. Brooklyn, where Eugen was from, was divided and close to Manhattan. The town was in turmoil, with residents fighting over income and hospitality declining. People were forced to move without understanding why. Johnson orchestrated all of this behind the scenes, using his wealth to sow chaos and seize land for himself. Isaac continued, shedding light on the broader scope beyond America. He described how in third world countries, the level of exploitation exceeded imagination, bribing governments to build soda factories that depleted local water supplies, forcing relatively stable countries into dependence on them for water. They transformed self-sufficient agricultural nations into importers of agricultural goods, perpetuating cycles of dependency. Isaac didn't shy away from mentioning child labor either. He emphasized that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Dick Johnson was responsible for most famines in the world. As Johnson and his guards, humanoid Mimi and Nana, traveled along the highway, confident in his safety thanks to Stern's bodyguards, they unexpectedly fell within Eugen's attack range. Eugen had positioned himself for a decisive strike aimed at Johnson's neck. At the critical moment, Mimi intercepted Eugen's slash meant for Johnson, resulting in an explosion that ignited a fire around them. Just as Eugen prepared to draw his blade again, a swift bullet was fired towards him. Reacting swiftly, Eugen deflected the bullet with his sword. But to his surprise, Johnson and his bodyguards, Mimi and Nana, survived the attack. Nana swiftly took Johnson and began to flee, while Mimi readied its railgun once more, preparing to fire at Eugen. In the heat of the battle, Eugen recalled Isaac's warning about Johnson's bodyguards, Mimi and Nana. Isaac had cautioned that these girls, despite their innocent appearance, were formidable bodyguards created by Stern for Johnson's protection. Originally designed for combat, they were now specialized for Johnson's personal defense, a testament to his importance within their organization. Isaac emphasized their efficiency and lack of hesitation in combat, unlike the adversaries Eugen had faced before. As Mimi fired her railgun towards Eugen, he swiftly countered with a powerful slash of his blade, slicing the bullet in half and disabling Mimi's arm in the process. Amid the chaos of the spreading fire, civilians were in a panic. Meanwhile, Nana had readied Johnson's escape vehicle and communicated with Stern about the attack. Eugen faced Mimi, who suddenly spoke with a male voice, revealing that Stern was controlling her remotely. Eugen's hand still trembled from the earlier confrontation when Stern seized the opportunity and fired a laser at Eugen's shoulder. Stern explained that while Eugen had disabled Mimi's arm with a slash, Johnson had requested a smaller railgun, limiting it to 2 shots. But Stern's laser had no such limitations. It moved at the speed of light, making it impossible to dodge. Stern delivered a stark message to Eugen. His every move was tracked, making stillness his sole chance at survival. Meanwhile, Nana and Johnson touched down at the Air Force Base. Johnson urgently dialed Minister Martin, requesting use of a top-tier aircraft. Martin hesitated, but Johnson pressed his case, citing a terrorist threat and his need to evacuate swiftly. Reluctantly, Martin relented. With that, Johnson and Nana took to the skies. Eugen, facing imminent danger from a targeted laser, dared not budge. Suddenly, the Air Force swooped in, encircling Eugen. Yet, chaos erupted as Johnson intervened, unleashing fire both at civilians and Eugen, escalating the turmoil. Bullets flew toward Eugen and Stern. In a split-second move, Stern leapt into the air, narrowly evading the blast. Eugen, relying on his aura, deflected the attack. With Johnson's distraction, Eugen seized an opportunity to strike back. As Stern aimed his laser, Eugen swiftly assumed a defensive stance, delivering a swift slash that cleaved Mimi in 2. Reacting swiftly, Eugen parried Stern's laser with his blade, dismantling Mimi with a series of precise strikes. Stern seethed with frustration at his defeat by Eugen's hand. On the other line, Stern's voice crackled through Johnson's headset, accusing him of insanity for firing into civilian areas. Johnson shot back, explaining he had ministerial clearance and aimed to minimize casualties by neutralizing Eugen. He instructed Nana to disconnect and ignore further calls, focusing instead on tracking Eugen with the engagement lock system. Suddenly, Eugen's blade sliced through their aircraft, splitting it in 2. As Johnson and Nana plummeted towards the ground, Nana rushed to shield him. Yet, Eugen continued his onslaught, shattering the airplane with relentless strikes. After Eugen dispatched Mimi, Stern tapped into his ability to control nearby aircraft, weaponizing them against Eugen. Drawing on spiritual powers, Eugen anticipated the aircraft's movements, easily evading their attacks. As one aircraft descended towards him, Eugen poised himself, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Unbeknownst to Stern, Eugen had been preparing for this moment. With a swift, decisive slash, Eugen obliterated both aircraft simultaneously. Stern seethed with rage, realizing he had underestimated Eugen's strategy. As firefighters tackled the blaze, Eugen swiftly changed back into his school attire to conceal his identity. Cypher arrived after the confrontation between Eugen and Stern, missing any sight of Eugen in action. She alerted the officer to the need for a thorough investigation, citing the presence of a terrorist. The officer explained that the initial responders had already transported the injured to nearby hospitals, making it impractical to scrutinize everyone involved in such a major incident. Capitalizing on the chaos, Eugen slipped away unnoticed, his true identity safe from exposure. Following the incident, Noah delivered a stirring speech at the World Summit, earning applause from the audience. He then made his way to the VIP interview room, where a reporter began questioning him. She mentioned he was the most sought-after date in their survey and inquired about marriage plans. Noah explained that due to his busy schedule, thoughts of marriage were far from his mind. Just as Cypher was about to end the interview after the allotted time, the reporter insisted on one final question. Despite Cypher's hesitation, Noah encouraged her to proceed. The reporter then brought up the recent airplane crash involving the chairman of the Rothschild Foundation and its president, Johnson. The reporter pressed on, mentioning that while the police labeled it an accident, rumors swirled of a targeted assassination. She suggested the possibility that the same terrorist who attacked Sonic and targeted Johnson might be linked to the crash victims. Turning to Noah, she asked for his thoughts on these speculations. Noah calmly responded that he wasn't certain about the rumors and preferred not to dwell on uncertain speculations. He maintained that the airplane crash was likely due to a straightforward mechanical failure. As Noah and Cypher drove, Noah inquired about the progress of the investigation and whether they had located Johnson's body. Cypher updated him, mentioning that the technical team was collaborating with Team 4 to replicate the incident, anticipating results soon. Regarding Johnson's body, they had not yet found it. Noah instructed Cypher to investigate the source of the reporter's information and to debunk the rumor. Suddenly, Cypher's demeanor shifted as she checked her phone. With a troubled expression, she informed Noah that the elders were summoning him urgently for a meeting. The scene shifted to the reporter, still deeply engrossed in investigating the recent incident. She scrolled through footage on her phone, capturing the intense scene engulfed in flames. Despite the danger, she had persisted, filming every detail. Suddenly, she spotted someone familiar, Eugen. She followed him discreetly, continuing to record as he removed his mask and changed clothes. Watching the footage, the reporter became convinced that Noah was concealing something significant. Moreover, a sense of familiarity stirred within her regarding Eugen, though she couldn't quite place where they might have crossed paths before. The scene shifted to Noah making his way underground to meet with the elders, 3 figures cloaked in shadow. They chided Noah for his tardiness, reminding him it was the 4th time he had kept them waiting after their summons. They discussed Johnson's death, acknowledging it was no accident. Noah affirmed their suspicions and updated them on the search for Johnson's body, noting Johnson's disruptive influence within the organization. He then proposed finding a replacement for Johnson. One of the elders rebuffed Noah, derisively recalling his humble origins as a child abandoned in a war-torn field, barely clinging to life. The elder continued, admonishing Noah for his numerous past mistakes. They contrasted Noah with Johnson, praising his adeptness and discretion in handling affairs across Africa and Eastern Asia, noting his influence in controlling population and resources quietly through various enterprises. Speculating on Johnson's potential baptism, they remarked on their own confinement in their underground lair, lamenting the loss of a part of themselves. Despite their seclusion, they warned Noah never to underestimate their knowledge. They reminded him not to forget who had guided and baptized him and his brothers, and emphasized their dominion over the world. In Stern's laboratory, his servant delivered updates. Nana's module had lost only 50% capacity, manageable for restoration. However, Mimi's module faced nearly impossible odds, with only 40% of its brain core chip intact. They planned a partial restoration using backup data to bring her back up to 80%. Team 4 joined in for the investigation. Nana's module had suffered damage protecting Johnson during the airplane crash caused by Eugen, though not as severe as Mimi's. Stern dismissed the need for Mimi's body, ordering it scrapped for a complete redesign and model change. To everyone's surprise, Johnson was revealed to be alive, despite having lost all his limbs. The servant noted that most of Johnson's organs were unusable, but his brainwave response rate remained at 75% of normal. Stern, strategizing quietly, decided not to inform Noah about Johnson's condition. Instead, he instructed his servant to transfer Johnson to his private workshop, hinting at plans to provide him with a formidable new body capable of confronting Eugen. Meanwhile, Sonic, fully recovered and surrounded by journalists, fielded questions about his plans regarding the terrorist and his health status. He assured them that with the care of Fatima Hospital's medical staff, he had made a full recovery without any lingering side effects. Then Sonic solemnly declared that terrorism could be lurking among us, eroding trust even among neighbors. He expressed a deep sense of responsibility for recent events and urged citizens to join him in efforts to apprehend the terrorists. Sonic announced a $10 million reward for information leading to their capture, pledging his personal commitment to the cause. The scene shifted to Ramo and Eugen. Ramo advised Eugen to lay low for a while, cautioning that their adversaries now understood his capabilities. She explained that by engaging them in combat, Eugen had revealed his fighting style and provoked their pride, altering the dynamics of the situation significantly. Ramo continued, describing their adversaries as viewing themselves beyond humanity, masking their anti-terrorism efforts as public service while using Eugen as a sacrificial example. She warned that professional hunters, underworld figures, and civilians alike would now hunt Eugen, seeing capturing him as a lucrative prize. Eugen interrupted her, demanding to know what she wanted from him. Ramo revealed she knew his tragic past and desired vengeance for the 300 spirits within him. She pledged her support and offered anything he needed in exchange for a promise to end her life with his sword when the time came. And so, our story concludes.